Hi, welcome to my channel, Math Made Easy with Laurel. I'm Laurel, and in this video we're going to talk about how we change percents to either fractions or decimals. In the previous two videos, I talked about how we changed fractions to decimals and decimals to fractions. Now we're going to bring in percents and talk about how we can write a percent as an equivalent fraction or an equivalent decimal. In order to do that, we have to understand the meaning of percent, and percent means per hundred. Percent means per hundred, and per means division. So if we had a percent such as 25%, and we want to get rid of the percent sign, that can be written as 25 per 100. If we want to express that result as a fraction, we can just reduce this. So we divide numerator and denominator by 25. It will equal 1/4. So 25% is the same as 1/4. And if we want to take that 25% and change it to a decimal, instead of putting it over 100, we just divide by 100 by moving the decimal point. So 25% will equal 0.25. So these numbers are all equivalent. They all mean the same thing. So if I was finding 25% of something, that's the same as finding 1/4 of it or 0.25 times it. Let's take a look at some more examples. If we were asked to change 12% to a fraction, that would be 12 over 100, which would reduce to divide 4 into the numerator and the denominator, 3 over 25. If we're asked to change 12% to a decimal, we're dividing by 100, but rather than do it as a fraction, the way we would divide by 100 is we would move the decimal point 2 places to the left. So that would be equivalent to 0.12. So depending on whether you want it as a fraction or as a decimal, those are your two options. If we had 150% and we were asked to change that to a fraction or a decimal, as a fraction, I would put it over 100 and then I would reduce. So 50 divides into the numerator and the denominator, would reduce to 3/2, which we could express as 1 1/2. If we want to change this to a decimal, we're going to divide by 100, but we're not going to put it over 100 and create a fraction. The way that we're going to divide by 100 is we're just going to move the decimal point 2 places to the left. So this will be equivalent to 1.5. So again, depending on the form that you want your result, 150% is either 1.5 or 1 1/2. Sometimes you might have decimals in your percents. You still go about the conversion the same way. We're going to put 0.5 over 100. But in order for a fraction to be simplified, we cannot have a decimal in the numerator or the denominator. So in order to get rid of this decimal, I'm going to multiply the numerator by 10, and whatever I multiply the numerator by, I need to multiply the denominator by the exact same thing. So that will be 5 over 1,000. Now that my decimal's gone, now I can reduce it. 5 divides into numerator and denominator, so it will be 1 over 200. If I want to change this to a decimal, I know there's a decimal in the percent, but this is still a percent. The percent contains a decimal. So in order to change it to an actual decimal, we're going to get rid of the percent sign, and we're going to do that by dividing by 100. So when I divide by 100, I move my decimal point 2 places to the left. So this will be 0.005. So 0.5% is either equal to 1 over 200 or 0.005. So the idea when you're changing to a fraction or a decimal is you're getting rid of the percent sign, and the only way you can do that is to divide by 100. Let's take a look at a couple more examples that involve fractions in our percents. So you may see a fraction in your percents, and the way that we change to an actual fraction without the percent or a decimal is to divide by 100. So we would write that as 1/2 divided by 100. In order to simplify this, I can express this as 1/2 divided by 100 and then I can express that as 1/2 times the reciprocal of 100, which is 100 over 1, will be 1 over 100. So this fraction will equal 1 over 200. 1/2 of a percent is equal to 1 over 200. If I want to change this to a decimal, I can do one of two things. I can either change this 1/2 to a decimal, so 1/2% will equal 0.5%, and then I can divide by 100 by moving my decimal point. So it will equal 0.005. And we know that these have to be equal. So the other option is I could have just, once I had it as a fraction, I could have just changed it to a decimal by taking 1 and dividing by 200. And we talked about how to do that in the last video. My next example, I'm going to change it to a fraction first. So it will be 33 1/3 over 100. So that will be 33 1/3 divided by 100. My rules of fractions say this has to be an improper fraction. So 33 times 3 is 99 plus 1 will be 100 over 3. 100 is simply 100 over 1. And in order to divide, I have to multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to multiply by 1 over 100. I'm allowed to cancel when I'm multiplying fractions. So 100 goes into there once, 100 goes into there once. And this fraction will be equal to 1/3. So 33 1/3% is the same as 1/3. In order to change to a decimal, we can do one of two things. We can either take this and change it to a decimal, or we can change this to a decimal. So 33 1/3% will equal 33.33 and continuing percent. And then to get rid of the percent, I divide by 100, so I move my decimal point 2 places to the left. So that will equal 0.3333, and so on. And you could round that off to whatever decimal place you need to round it off to. So that's it for changing a percent to a fraction. Simply put it over 100 and reduce. And if it has decimals or fractions, you might have to do a little bit of extra work. And in order to change a percent to a decimal, you divide by 100 by moving your decimal point 2 places to the left. Once you divide by 100, you get rid of your percent sign. It's no longer there. Practice these as much as you can. And in the next video, we'll talk about how we can change a fraction or a decimal to a percent. Take care and see you then.